I guess this we should wrap. So we'll wrap up this episode with I guess with Logic. It's just gonna be we're just gonna be talking about Logic to wrap up this episode. Um, so how do you want to do this? So do you want to get into
Well, how'd you feel about the album?
the album? I took this week. I took like this week. Yeah, I practically took this week to listen to the album this whole week. Like I literally listened to the album front and back. This week, I it's a good album. It's a good album. I all right. I want to start with saying I like the album. I think it's a good album. I think he put together a good piece of work. Um, I'll start there. I think No ID went off. I think he definitely produced. Uh, No ID definitely showed what happens with when a good producer and an artist, especially an artist they already worked together to create gold, that they could do it again. Or it just shows like when you have a producer that understands you as an artist as well. I think uh, I think Logic one of his goals was to drop a good album that was him, and with No ID's help, he did that. That expressed him who he was, and I'll start there. I'll start there. What do
Uh,
you think?
I did like the album too. I only listened to it once though. Um, I I'm conflicted if I want to listen to it again. And the reason why is one, I didn't like he was rapping, but like I felt like there was nothing really behind what he was saying. Like for someone that was retiring, I wanted him to go out with a bang. And I didn't feel like he did it with this one. Like lyrically. Like,
Hmm.
production was cool. But like I always imagined the way I retire is like something like almost like on Black Album, Jay-Z Black Album kind of, what I mean, where like you lay everything out. And I think Logic's take on that kind of was just like, hey, you know what? I spent so much of my time, caring about, what other people thought of me that it drove me crazy. So now I'm just going to retire and be a dad, which isn't bad. But like, I think the music was tainted a bit by his his need for acceptance. Like I felt like, especially in the past couple albums, like the only person that name drops more than Logic is the game, and it's
Yeah.
literally because like Logic has his need to be accepted by these people. Like he's talked about Kanye so much in that album. He's talked about Drake, and like even when he was on stream crying, he's like, "Oh, I want to thank Kanye and Drake and Cole." Like people that don't acknowledge him, like not to be rude, like don't like publicly acknowledge him and stuff like that. While like Logic is a good MC and like he puts together good music, it's just like I felt like what's holding him back is that he cares too much about what people think. He cares too much about acceptance. And I
No,
felt
and that's true. I totally agree. I was actually surprised you went into that. That was gonna be like my like uh the cons. I was waiting till we yeah, okay. All right.
yeah, no, I can't like I like the album. It's well produced and stuff like that. I felt like the song where he was like rapping about a day in his life being a dad was like I felt like it was a little corny, but like I get it. Like this is your new life, and this is stuff that you want to rap about. I just felt like he could have done it a bit cooler. Like, um,
That's logic, man.
it felt real like Weird Al Yankovic kind of when he did that. But in general, like I don't think Logic has grown from that need to, you know, um, be accepted by people still. Like
Hmm.
I think, like he gets to a point where he talks a bit about like, like God and like religion and coming to terms with that, but I still think, he has that that need to be accepted by people. So even like when he came out and said that, like, like Joe Budden's words could drive someone to suicide, it's like he's like the only person that got bothered by what Joe Budden says. Everybody else says "fuck you" to Joe Budden, or like understands that Joe Budden is like a sensationalist in a sense where like he puts a lot of sauce on stuff because like it's entertainment.
Yeah. That's another. Okay. All right. So so the thing, yeah, especially with the thing with Joe Budden, because for me, I recently read that about his comment on like basically, yeah, he said Joe Budden's words could drive somebody to suicide. Could drive, basically referring to uh Joe Budden's comments to Logic in the past, because they already had this type of relationship where like Joe critique Logic's albums and just critique Logic as a whole. And it says something. No, it does say something when knowing their history, when Logic does like say something like that, especially after his recent album, especially with Joe Budden, like what he had to say about Logic after releasing this album. And he was just like, like I take back some things I said, and he was just like, just to like I don't want to. Like I could, he said, regardless of how I feel, he's like, you should feel um, you're retiring. Like that's a time that is personal. It belongs to you. I don't want to like impede or say something because he's like that's not my place. Because he's just like I had my time and when I retired, I had my chance to, you know, bathe in that spotlight or just live in that moment. And he's like, I don't want to like that's a precious moment as an artist. So he's like, he's like Logic, you deserve that moment and you should enjoy it, like enjoy it for you and whatnot. And I know Logic, he like I watched some interviews too. I saw his interview on Hard Knock TV. I watched like a good half of that interview on like when he was talking about the album. And like like he brings up all the time now. I think he says he's more comfortable with it, about the fact that like his need for acceptance and um how he'll be able to live the life of going out to sold out shows in arenas, and yet someone online could say one thing about him or write something and it could like ruin his day. It could like ruin like that feeling for him, or it could just it could just end up being the one thing he just thinks about and this like harps on, despite like his success, right? His like glaring success, like that part still bugs, like it's still something that gets him down. And and I think that need for acceptance, it showed on the album. um it showed on the album, because I know one of the things he did mention early on in the album, I think this was even on the day of he had the album launch party on Twitch. um we talked about the other episode. It was also the fact that um he mentioned, like he made it clear, he's like, oh, like these in the album beforehand, he's like, oh, these are the artists that heavily influenced the tracks, the albums themselves, the album itself, and da 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 da, all that, all the above. And then people will go and just be like, when you hear some songs, it does sound like, I'm like, he literally sounds like he's like Snoop Dogg. Like this is very similar, like the cadence and everything, to Snoop. He had songs that had him. He sounded like Mac Miller. I know we brought that up. I'm trying to think. Was that Man I Is? Like, he had tracks that related to related with him on the same uh wavelength as Kanye. And he said these are just how I show homage to the people that influence like my my artistry my music, and he's
Yeah.
just like, that's
So the problem with that I've had is that
yeah.
when you go so many albums doing that, you lose who you are.
You think he's
So
done that on every album till now, or he did it on one?
no, I think a lot of the criticism for Logic is that like, he didn't a lot of people don't know who his like identity is per se. Like as far as like, oh well, he'll do the harmonizing like Drake, or he'll do this like this person, or he'll do that like that person. But nothing like his style uniquely is his. I think his aesthetic and his means of storytelling is like through his albums. But when you're chasing acceptance, it's like think of it this way: it's like you when you want to fit in so bad, you don't hold on to your individuality. Or it's like, oh yeah, like I want to be accepted by Kanye, so I want to sound like Kanye, and I want to do what Kanye does. I want to be accepted by Drake, so I want to sing like Drake, and all. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of been my issue with the past couple albums, because it's like what would normally feel like really dope moments for him working with people felt like he was just like trying so hard to be accepted by them. Like when he did the joint with the Wu Tang, like that should have been like an epic moment. But for me, it's just like, yo, it's just like you seem like you wanted to be down with them so bad. Like when he did the song with Eminem, same thing. It's like, yo, this could have been an epic moment had you not like idolized this person and showed up like you're trying to rap. Like, you come on it like a fan.
Mm.
And like at some point, like yes, it's cool to acknowledge who's influenced you, and it's cool to be a fan of someone, but you have to be able to separate the two. And I felt like Logic has blurred those lines so much that the criticism he gets sometimes is often kind of warranted, because it's like, yo, like not many people get to do songs with Eminem, and you do one, and it's very clear that you've cut yourself out as a fan rather than like a fellow MC. Because yes, he's rapping on there, but like even like with the hook and stuff like that, it's like, yo, like come on, dude, like we could do better than
Hmm.
that as an artist.
Yeah.
So when people give these criticisms and stuff like that of Logic, um, some of them are valid, but others are kind of like, at some point you're talented enough, there's something about you that got you to this point, and you just need to brush it off. Like if you're selling out arenas and then like getting upset over like one comment, and that may not be like the truth, but he's just saying in general, then there's something internally that you need to analyze, which I'm sure he realized in the process of coming to the decision to retire, um, that needs to be fixed. Because again, like in the age of the internet, you know, anybody can say anything they want under the veil of anonymity.
Get
Anonymity.
caught.
God. So you know, you have to find peace within yourself. You have to, be able to brush off that kind of stuff, because it don't matter if you're Logic or anything else. Like, with all this stuff that's going on, like, Me Too and like false allegations about stuff like that. Like, bro, people are like self-deleting over stuff like that. And, the way to combat that is being really, reinforcing yourself. Like, meditate, take time away from social media. Like, stop giving this stuff so much power. Like, like if I'm Logic, I'm making millions off something I love, and somebody's like, "Oh, Logic, like you suck." I'm like, "Cool," but I'm doing what I love for a living, providing for my family, and I could ask for nothing more. I'm like I don't care what you think, because like if you want to get down to it, I'm like, you're probably working a job that you hate for someone else, not doing what you want, wasting your life and your talents, while like I'm doing what I want.
That was literally a song. Like that's literally in a song he made. And I think like yeah. No, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I think it's strange how uh the fact is like Logic could put so much. He achieved much in his music career in terms of just like bodies of work he dropped, um, albums. I think it was a uh, incredible true story ever told. Like, Did that go gold? Did I go plat?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I might just say, I might just look at that. Like, and I think
Yeah, Incredible
yeah,
True Story went gold. Same with
and
Under
then
Pressure.
everybody went plat.
Yeah, everybody went plat.
Oh wow, I did not know everybody went plat.
Yeah, I liked that album. That was a good album.
And he was, and in his interview, it was surprising. He said people didn't like his, like people gave him a lot of flack. And so, see, that's what I want to. I mean, you're one individual, but like for you, I know you always have words for Logic because you always, you look at him first as an artist before looking at like his music, and kind of because that in itself affects, like reflects and affects his music, reflects and affects his music. Yeah.
Um, I liked everybody because um, the direction it was going, like musically. I think they experimented like with different kinds of sounds and stuff like that. Like that was the same one that had like Black Spider-Man on it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I think that was showing growth, and I felt like if he would have stuck kind of in that um, direction, that'd have been cool. Now, I mean, people give him crap for like the suicide hotline thing, but aside from that, like it was a pretty good album.
yeah, like yeah. No, I did like the album. I was bringing it back to No Pressure. Um, calling it especially calling it No Pressure. Uh, in response to his um, yeah, in regards to his first album, um, Under Pressure.
Well, it's really quick to interject because I know we
Yeah,
have to wrap up too, but
yeah,
some of the criticism for everybody, which is valid, was um, kind of what I was saying. The whole thing about trying to be accepted so much, where it's just like you know, people have trouble determining like is he writing from like his own point of view or he's like writing as someone else, like which is why like you know to the point where it's like, oh, there's songs, that Kanye inspired this, so he sounds like Kanye in this one. You know what I mean? Like Logic kind of just for a while, it just felt like Logic just kind of assimilated with whoever was on there, where with most other people, you know, they're going to do them regardless. Like, so look at like Logic and Joyner Lucas, because that was a beef for a while. Joyner Lucas
mm-hmm.
looking at a song with Eminem, and he's Joyner. Logic did a song with Eminem, he's Eminem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, yeah, and I think that's Logic, and that was comes with the individual. It's just like I guess it's hard to separate because it might something that comes into him himself as an individual, and that's something he can't separate himself as an individual from as an artist. Like, and I mean, I just want to go into that a little bit, before we wrap up, but also into about the album. Um, like he tried to do, yeah, like you said, he tried to do a lot of things. Like he tried to do like he tried to, like, for his last album, he tried to take time to once again, like, have a track or commemorate, like, the artists or people that influence his style. And I even, like I said, I know on Twitch, even he made a comment on that. He's like, yeah, like, because these people like influenced, like, where my me growing up on hip hop, that, so of course, like, that's just like you know, that's where I come from. That's where I came from. Like that's he said for him, he's just like that's how he came to know hip hop. And then like, and it's even in one of his interviews too, with the Hard Knock TV, his recent interviews there, and he made a reference to J. Cole's Middle Child, and he sees himself in the middle, with Cole in that stream of artists. Like you have the OGs like Jay, like Jay to Kiss, like you'll have like you know, I mean you can even go further from there, like Wu Tang, like, you know, Nas, like those type of rappers that are like the grandfather. He's like, right, he sees them as the grandfathers. Like he'll put himself, Cole, um, like Kendrick, Drake, like, you know, those artists, you know, they're like the parents, and then you have like the new school like artists you have now, you know, yeah, they're this generation of like hip hop, and like he puts himself in the middle, like along with Cole, like, and um, so like that gave me a better perspective when because I listened to the album, then I saw some interviews and stuff, um, and yeah, he tried to do his own for his own retirement album. You know, he tried to do his own 444 kind of like some in his own way. Like he tried to make it write stuff about things that he cared about, even if it was just, you know, commemorating or giving a shout out to somebody else for acknowledgement that he always done. Um, and maybe him like doing dad bod, like this, that was the song you were talking about, him going to the store, got to buy a change of diapers for his kid, and he's like he's high as fuck or whatever. Um, like, like that was like his own like logic way, like yeah, like the corny logic way of just like letting you know like rap is not like my life anymore, and then like, you know, like he's like, yo, yeah, he's like fuck hip hop, like, you know, like he be always saying like, so he tried to do his own 444 album
Yeah.
while also at the same time made tracks to like solidify himself in terms of his lyricism, like his flows. Like he literally has a song like 5 hooks. That's just for the sake of like showing his multiple flows. And like, I mean, I'm like, shoot, Drake does it all the time. I'm like, you could have a song dedicated to hooks and other people's styles and stuff like that. I'm just like, Drake does it for a career. Like, I mean, like, you know, it's not. I do agree with you. I think Logic is too hard on himself. Um, but then again, you know, as an individual he has his own problems, like we all do.
I feel
But
like as a rapper though, and I want to say this really quick before we stop. Like I just feel
yeah,
like as a celebrity and stuff like that, like if you want to enter the entertainment industry, um, you need to really evaluate what that means. And I think um aside from like, oh my gosh, I get to do my music, it's like, yo, like, you know, you have to evaluate the good and the bad of everything. It's like, yo, like, yeah, the people might not like my shit. Like people are gonna talk shit on the internet. All that kind of stuff, like that you need to take into account before you do it. You know what I mean? Like it's a major decision that you need to make when you try to enter this kind of like that kind of lifestyle. Because it's just like, yo, like as easily as you can tweet about like your favorite celebrity or about say like Donald Trump, like you get that kind of platform, people are going to do the same to you. So you may get 1,000 like, oh yeah, this album was amazing, and then just get like the nah, you suck. And like, does that are you really going to let that ruin your day? Are you really going to let that ruin everything you've accomplished? Like it's just people. I think people just
yeah,
don't know or like prepare themselves for that kind of stuff, and the internet has made it like the barrier of entry to be like famous or a celebrity way lower than it's ever been. Like you can get a viral video today of like doing the worm on like an airport conveyor belt or something go viral, and now you're famous, and you don't know what to do with that now. Look at Boom Gang. My man spiraled out of control. Now he, changed his name, but still all these face tats and stuff. Like, people just, you have to be ready for this kind of stuff. Like, if you're going to get into it, you need to know everything that you're getting into.
And I mean,
Aside from that, though, I did
no,
like
you're right. I think it does when you go into that direction. I think some people sometimes they don't even know where it is gonna take them, right? Is it sometimes you just put out like you just make music and sometimes you're like, yo, I really just make